In a professional Dota match, every decision that a pro player makes is based off of something called a power spike. A power spike is a point in the game where a hero instantly becomes significantly stronger through completing an item, getting a certain talent, or leveling up a specific ability. As a basic example, let's take a look at Anti-Mage's big power spikes in a normal game. Between minutes 0 through 10, he's basically a creep with a blink ability, with some minor power spikes whenever he picks up treads and his level 6. Between 12 through 15 minutes, he picks up a Battle Fury, and of course his farming plus split pushing power spikes significantly. But he still can't fight very well because he's easy to kill. At about 20 minutes, he picks up a Manta style, and at that point, Anti-Mage becomes extremely difficult to kill. But he can still be pretty weak at fighting because he has no good way of disabling people. At about 25 minutes, he picks up a Basher, and all of a sudden, now Anti-Mage has Disable, Mobility, Damage, and Survivability all in one package. In most games, this is Anti-Mage's largest power spike. After that, there's an Abyssal Blade and Butterfly Spike, which gives even more survivability in Disable, but these spikes are usually pretty irrelevant. They're generally kind of quick after the Basher, simply because after you have the Basher, Anti-Mage can accelerate the pace of the game immensely, whether it's through kills, objectives, Roshan, or just farming more of the map. But chances are, you already knew all of this. And the reason for that is because Anti-Mage is one of the oldest and most explored carries in all of Dota history, and therefore he has some of the most well-known power spikes in the game. But what most people don't know is how to play for the correct timings, even if they know a hero's power spikes. The idea of timings comes from comparing the power spike graphs of multiple heroes. Consider the matchup of Medusa versus Anti-Mage. Anti-Mage is classically considered a counter to Medusa, but on rare occasion, professional teams have actually picked Medusa into Anti-Mage, usually to the complete dismay of the casters. The reason that teams have done this is because Medusa has an early game timing that can beat Anti-Mage, even though Anti-Mage is of course a late game counter to Medusa. If we compare the graphs of these two heroes, we can see that Medusa has an early game Manta-style power spike, while Anti-Mage is still farming away with his Battle Fury. The time window where one hero's current power is stronger than an enemy hero's current power is typically referred to by professional players as a timing. In other words, between 15 to 20 minutes in a perfectly balanced game, Medusa has a strong timing against Anti-Mage. But for the large majority of the game, Anti-Mage has strong timings against Medusa. This is precisely why it's not actually that crazy to pick Medusa against Anti-Mage. If you need a carry hero that has a strong 15 to 20 minute timing because all of your other heroes also peak at that point, then Medusa is a reasonable pick. And hypothetically, any late game counter to that hero doesn't matter if you plan on never going late game. Of course, this example is only realistic in pro matches because most pubs go to the late game no matter what, but you can see the point that I'm trying to make. With that being said, how is this relevant in pubs? One of the biggest problems for a lot of players is that they do consider power spikes, but not timings. They don't adapt their play based on the heroes in the game. Instead, they choose to follow the exact same strategy in every game. I propose that instead of following a rigorous flowchart to playing and itemizing on a hero, instead use that flowchart as a guide, but don't follow it to a T. If you usually fight at a particular point in a game with your favorite hero, but it doesn't seem like it's working in a game, then it's likely that the enemy hero's power spike beats yours, and therefore they have a strong timing against you. So, you need to dodge fights until you have a favorable timing against them. To give you a concrete example, let's take a look at how Burning plays Troll Warlord in two different games with regards to the timings that he looks to take fights. First and foremost, I want to show you how Burning plays around his team taking fights whenever he's in a mode where he's essentially decided that he doesn't have a timing where he wants to fight because he feels like the enemy team, of course, has a stronger power spike at that point than he does. So in this game, Burning built a Battle Fury. And naturally, when you have a Battle Fury, a lot of the time in the game is going to be spent hitting creeps. Of course, there's a Phantom Lancer on the enemy team as well, so that makes this an even better item. You can see that he moves his camera to mid, And for a moment, he briefly considers going, but instead he just chooses to continue farming. And once again, the reasoning for this is because the enemy team has a ton of early game magic damage in the OD and the Tiny, the Chen, the army is going to be difficult for a troll to deal with. So instead of showing up to fights, he just chooses to farm. He's going to sacrifice a couple of towers, maybe here or there. But of course, in the late game, when he gets the BKB, when he gets some other items, he believes that at that timing, he's going to be able to fight. Just because it's kind of interesting, I wanted to show you this one portion of the game where Burning is pushing mid with his team, and you can tell that he thought that this was a mistake by his actions afterwards, but he's building into a Sanjin Yasha instead of going for a BKB rush. He runs into the fight. This fight is not looking too good. OD drops the hammer, and they all die. So immediately after this fight is over, if we look at Burning's quick buy, he switches it from a Sanjin Yasha to a Black King bar. So he has essentially decided that the enemy team has hit this big power spike, they have a strong timing, and that if he doesn't go for a BKB very quickly, it's possible that the enemy team will just snowball this game. And then, of course, you can't have any timing if the enemy team just has so many items that, you know, you can have a BKB, but what if the OD has a Hex, for example? So he decided, okay, I need this BKB, I need to hit this timing sooner than I thought I was going to. So immediately after Burning picked up his BKB, he walks towards his team in the mid lane, and they smoke. They go directly for the OD, because, of course, that is the golden goose kill that they can get. Most important hero. He pings, he says, okay, somebody initiate on this hero, we're going to kill him. Walks over to get vision, scouts for his Legion commander, but his team gets gone on in the back lines, and they look to take the fight anyway, because he has the BKB, so he feels confident that they're going to be able to fight this. So even getting doomed, they are able to take this fight because of the BKB. Here we have the second game, and we are at Burning's BKB timing. He just picked it up, and the difference between the previous game and this one is that once he gets the BKB, he doesn't look to immediately make a play. In fact, his playstyle stays relatively the same, and I think a big reason for this is because he thinks that his team has the late game secured. I mean, obviously TA is dead, so that's another reason that he's not looking to take a fight. But I think that he thinks his team has the late game secured. TA is a flash farming hero, which is a reason that, by the way, he doesn't have a Battle Fury right now. Instead, he went for a Diffusal Blade, so he's kind of playing the more active carry. But watch how he plays. He runs in, but only after his team has started the fight. This is very typical for how a lot of carries play in the early game, because carries in the early game don't want to fight. So he's looking around the map. He's not necessarily looking to group up and immediately take some sort of smoke or some sort of tower push with this BKB timing. He is totally content with farming. He just continues hitting creeps, And this was interesting to me because in the previous game, like I said, as soon as the BKB came out, he immediately looked to make a play. But in this game, he doesn't seem concerned with having to fight early. He thinks that his team can just keep farming and they're eventually going to win the game. And this is a pretty common thing, I would say, in a lot of high-rated pubs, is that sometimes you'll have like a carry player or a mid player, and they'll say something along the lines of like, hey guys, just, you know, keep farming. We have the late game, just keep farming. And honestly, games where you draft like that are pretty easy compared to a lot of other Dota games, because instead of having to find a timing in the middle of a bunch of other potential bad timings for you, you literally just try to hold the game out for as long as possible, and then you're confident because your team has better late game that eventually you're going to win Dota. You don't really need to do much in those games, and this to me appears to be one of those games. You can see even almost having the Basher, he is still hitting creeps. He is still farming, not interested in fighting, no smokes, no 5-manning, nothing of the sort. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I am insanely blown away from all of the support that I'm getting on this channel and doing these videos, so I really do appreciate that, and I appreciate you watching this video. If you like this sort of content, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment, leave a thumbs up. All of these things seem to boost the algorithm, so I would ultra appreciate it if you did that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in another video.